you ever noticed that it's sometimes hard to know that you're losing somebody until it's over? I feel like there's often a breaking point where it's easy to look back and be like, oh, okay, I was losing them or they were losing me. But up until that moment, it's really hard to know. In 2016, I was going through like a really rough breakup. And during this time, I was also like seeing a lot of people. There was this guy, Jim, who actually reminded me of my ex a bit. Not in the way that like I was trying to replicate what I had with my ex, but more just like I was trying to find the spark that he ignited in me, because when we weren't together anymore, it wasn't really there. And I think later I found out that I wasn't ever going to find that exact spark again, but I was going to find even more meaningful sparks with other people in the future. But it was kind of difficult. And I was seeing this guy, Jim, and we connected very strongly, like in a sexual way, but not so much on like a personal level. And Jim was very cynical. And one time I was still struggling with this breakup that I was going through. And part of that was like kind of thinking that it could be salvaged. And so one time I told Jim, I said, oh, just so you know, like I'm actually gonna try and make amends with my ex. And Jim's response to that was, oh, okay, perfect. I'm gonna go camping for a few months and I'm gonna come back, and that will give you enough time to get back with your ex, remember why you broke up in the first place, and then break up again before I get back. And I was just like, what the fuck? And also it kind of took until that moment for me to realize like, oh, we were broken up, like it was over. And that moment felt very quick, but at the same time, it took a long way to get there. I guess I was just surprised that I didn't realize that something was ending until it was completely over. And I've also felt that, like, with regards to falling outs with friends. Like, looking back, things seem very quick in the moment, but once that happens, it's so easy to look back and be like, oh, I see exactly when that was happening. And I feel like there's also a physical component to that. Like, for example, this thing, cane reveal, but you weren't expecting that. I have rheumatoid arthritis. I've had it for most of my life, but during my 20s, it's gotten progressively worse, and now I need this every once in a while to get around, and that has really crushed me. I don't know, it's hard to accept. And I am in a long-distance relationship with my husband. We've been going for almost 7 years now, and I think when I started realizing just how disabled I was becoming, I think it brought out a lot of insecurity for me, because I've always had arthritis, I've always been disabled, but understanding my body in different ways got me to realize like, oh, I'm almost at the end of my 20s, I'm 29, and I will have spent basically like my whole 20s waiting to be with the man that I love, at least in a way that is the way that we've been working towards, the way that we both want. It was kind of crushing to realize that my husband's gonna get here. I'm already 29, and most of my 20s will have been gone, and I don't know how much physically I'll be able to do many things for who knows how long. And that process feels just in such contrast to other things I've been doing in my life. Like, for example, with transition and stuff, I feel like a lot of my journey has been changing my body to reflect, I don't know, how I feel on the inside in a way. But with the disability stuff, it feels like the opposite. It feels like my body is changing, and the journey for me is about changing my mind to just accept that, to understand that I'm becoming not a different person, but my body is becoming what it will be. I don't really think it has to be negative though. I mean, with the trans stuff, I have been transitioning, and one of my closest friends is named Kyle. So when I was in the US recently visiting, I went to go visit them. And I've known Kyle basically since I've known my husband, around the same time. And when I met them, they had just started their transition and they're trans masc. So I eventually went in like the opposite direction that they did. And when I went to visit them in December, I remember showing them my body in a completely new way for the first time, like in a totally platonic way. I was just so excited about my bottom surgery, and I wanted to show them like who I was becoming. And they also showed me their body. And it was honestly one of the most beautiful moments of my life, because I got to see this friend whose journey I know and who I love so much. And I got to see the way their body carried with them who they were and who they are and who they will be in the future. I don't know. That made me think, oh, okay. I thought that transitioning would be like running away from my old self, but now I feel like I'm kind of running with my old self, and everything I build to become the person I am is on top of who I was and not in contrast or in spite of them, if that makes sense. It's something that I can definitely feel, and I can sort of empathize with that when I also see it in other people. Like my grandpa is suffering from dementia right now, and that is very hard to watch someone go through, to watch someone you love change in such a radically different way. I don't really know what I'm trying to say with all of this, except that I've come to learn that by documenting my experiences and my feelings, I can look back and understand them much better. And I'm kind of grateful for that. I'm really grateful to be able to experience myself, my body, and my relationships with other people in continuously evolving ways.
I saw something between his legs that reminded me of you. I froze up and didn't know what to do. I pushed him off of me and laughed. He said I wouldn't be the last, and that he'd write a book about the past and call it How to Lose Someone Fast. 6 years later, I got undressed and showed you what I wear when the rest of the world isn't there. And in response, you just returned the same gesture with the burn. And I remembered our bodies were roadmaps graced by the beauty that we've learned. I've always wanted to go southwest to the part of town that's always green. Give you a call and try to once again set the scene. But I remembered the fall and suddenly felt scared. How do you talk to someone who is not even really there? See, we're finally able to have a conversation at the longest table. But till then, I'll try to not stop when I think about that dream and how my heart is often beholden to and haunted by old memories. I saw Charlie today. He seemed confused but serene. I said it's nice to see you. He said it's nice to be seen.